Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Maya, thank you so much for taking the time to talk today. Middle of the winter. I think probably we're both from where our geographic locations of the world. We probably both have a little bit of snow today.
A little bit. Yeah, we got, I don't know how many inches we got last night, but I mean, at least it's soft and pillowy and fun, but ain't nobody gonna go out on the road in this, you know? So,
Well,
if you don't have all your supplies now, you're gonna have to figure it out.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, I'm glad you're safe and sound, not wandering the roads today. You're safe and sound and
Well,
ready to
thank
talk some
you
music
too.
today. Yes, thank
Right,
you.
yeah.
I want to introduce our future audience to you. I'm truly excited for the opportunity to speak with Maia Sharp, singer-songwriter. She's written songs. It's just the list of people that she's written for, unbelievable. Bonnie Raitt, Trisha Yearwood, Cher, Paul Carrick, Art Garfunkel, Lisa Loeb. The list just goes on. It's just such a amazing list of people that you've written for. And plus you have your own, you have your new album coming out in May, approximately May,
Mhm.
uh, called Mercy Rising, which we'll talk about a little bit later today. So excited to talk to you today.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me and for listening and for knowing all of those things. Because
Absolutely. It's
it's recorded.
just amazing. And just amazing. We'll dig into that a little bit today. But when people realize the list that I'm sure a lot of ears is perked up right now and said, wait a second, she's with a lot of people here. What's going on here? So I'm sure a lot of people are, if they don't already know about your career, they'll learn today if they don't already know. So
Well,
um,
well, yeah. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate
absolutely. Um, I understand that your first instrument was the saxophone, and that you initially went to school to college to be a saxophonist. What was it that brought you to realize that you wanted to chase the path of being a songwriter instead?
Yeah, I was about halfway through college, so I guess I was probably 19 or 20, and I was playing in all of these you know, jazz combos and small ensembles, and I was starting to play with people that were also playing around Los Angeles in these other bands, and so I would go see my friends play in these other bands, and I would at some point along the line I realized, oh, this is the kind of music that is really in my heart. I mean, I love to play saxophone, and I still do sometimes, but I was really drawn to that kind of Americana, kind of adult alternative thing that I was hearing from my friends around, around the town. And so I started writing. First, I was writing instrumentals for saxophone. And again, it was like, okay, this is cool, but this isn't like really the fiber of me, I grew up listening to Jackson Brown, who I
Oh,
can see right over your left shoulder,
yes, yes.
Bonnie Raitt and Joni Mitchell and Ricky Lee
Hmm.
Jones and those guys, Paul Simon. Like, why wasn't why wasn't I writing like that? So it took a couple years, but I realized that I wanted to see if I could try my hands at that, style, see if I could incorporate the saxophone in it. But I really, in the first year, I fell so hard just for the songwriting part itself, and then that quickly became the first love of it all. Like, I've always, since the very beginning, I've always loved the writing process even more than the getting on the stage thing. I mean,
Right.
I feel like I figured out how to be the artist because I wanted to get, the songs that I had written out there. And I knew that maybe every now and then I'd get one that I wrote with another artist, but if I wanted all the songs that I wanted to be heard, I was going to have to be the artist too. So that was the path. I think it's an odd path to come in as a player and then start writing and then realize that that's it. But hopefully it made those, at least the earlier albums, it made them a little unusual that this singer all of a sudden has a saxophone solo in the middle of the song.
Well, and you use that saxophone. So even though you had switched, I mean, like you said, you still play it once in a while. I know that as a teen, one of your goals was to play saxophone for Bonnie Raitt, and eventually
You
you
do
wrote a
that.
song for her, and you ended up
Oh my
playing on her
God.
album, playing with her.
Dude, I can't believe that you know that. That was like my first, like the very first like childhood, just like, please universe, I want this.
Yeah.
You know? I want to play saxophone for Bonnie Raitt. I was playing saxophone along to all of her albums. Just I saw her live countless times, And then years later, she records 3 of my songs, which was already like, I can't even believe this is happening.
Right, right.
And then she asked me to come in and recreate some of the harmonies that I did on my versions of those songs that she heard, and then recreate a horn section on one of the songs that she heard. And so we were hanging in the studio for a couple days, and at the end of the second day, she asked me if I want to sit in with her on uh, a show that she was doing in town. And so I sat in on freaking Angel from Montgomery, and already is like, what? This is just the totally surreal. I can't even
Yeah.
get my mind and my soul around this. And the whole time, she's as cool as you think she is. She's just totally down to earth. I feel like she's been a friend forever. Just totally like no ego, awesome. And at the end of that sit in, she asked me if I wanted to open some shows for her. And like, let me check my calendar, really. And then she asked me to sit in on sax on one of the encore songs, and asked me to sit in on Angel, which again was like, I think my first reaction when she asked me to sit in on that song was like, they don't want to hear me sing Angel, they want to hear you sing Angel. Like I almost like fired myself. Like, why would I do that? I have this opportunity. So I did that, and then I got to play saxophone with her. And there was a moment where I looked over, I'm like, holy crap, like
Yeah.
this is the route that it took, but I'll take it. Look at that.
I can't imagine the feelings. Yeah, I can't imagine when you're up there playing saxophone after the years of, thinking that, you know,
No.
playing saxophone in your bedroom, in the front room at the house, and going, boy, someday I would just love to play saxophone for Bonnie Raitt. And you did, and you
And then I
did.
did. Like, what?
If
I
that's not inspiration for anybody, to fulfill their dreams and to believe in themselves, then I don't know what is. I don't know what is if it's not.
Well, also that experience and many, many others taught me that sometimes the thing that you want to be true is going to happen in a way that you never planned.
Yeah.
Or sometimes the thing that you think you really want isn't really the dream, and let this other thing unfold because this might be cooler.
Right.
So I learned to kind of let the reins go. Like, it's okay if things don't go exactly as planned. And look what happened with that one. It was a circuitous route, but it made it
Just
somehow.
amazing. Just
I
amazing.
know.
I actually went to music school to be a clarinetist.
All right.
And I switched gears. I ended up graduating with an education degree. They said, basically it'd be really, really hard to be a performer,
Huh.
in an orchestra or in a jazz group, whatever it is. And so I switched gears, and yeah, I got to do the best of both worlds. You still got to play saxophone. I got to conduct musical theater, some shows that, orchestra. So I still conduct a little bit, and
Oh, that's great.
all the things in between have just really led up to, like you said it. So it's just that path. The path isn't always going to be what we expect it to be. I thought I'd be standing in front of a high school band today, and I'm not, but that's okay. I'm very fulfilled.
Yeah, and we have to kind of let ourselves off the hook too. I mean, if you have a dream when you're 12,
Mhm.
maybe that's not your dream anymore when you're
Right.
30,
That's
and
true.
that's
That's so
okay.
true. That's
Yeah.
so true. Um, so I know you come from a musical family. I know that, your dad has written #1 country singles, won a couple of Grammys here and there in his career. And
Yeah.
so that had to be part of your path a little bit too, and maybe as you were, evolving as a person.
Well, in many, many ways. So music was always in the house. When I showed, a serious, I think I was playing instruments kind of just always. And actually, my very first instrument, I can't believe I'm about to confess this, was oboe. And I remember my dad and I on the way to my first day of the seventh grade. And in Los Angeles, at that time, that was the first time that music was offered in the schools. So that was the first opportunity that I was going to have to play in any kind of an ensemble in school and to learn an instrument in school. So we're listening to the classical station on the way to my very first day,
Uh-huh.
and there's an oboe solo. And my dad says, "You know what? There's not a lot of oboe players in LA. I bet if you picked oboe, you could work." And I'm like 11. And I was like, okay. so, so I played oboe for a couple years. I played like in the Junior Philharmonic, and I did all that stuff. And it definitely set me, I think it helped the switch over to saxophone because you oboe players out there, respect. It is, I mean, that is a
Right.
beast. It is challenging and all consuming. Like you're making your reads. So I remember looking over at the saxophone section and being like, wow, that looks like so much more fun than what I'm having, you know? Um, but it was just, I mean, they've just always encouraged it. They've always been there, but never like forced anything on me. Like if I wanted to learn something, he was totally there. He showed me around the studio. We co-wrote. You know, he was my very first co-writer. Randy Sharp
Right.
is
Right.
his name. He's awesome. Very like very very careful, you know, of the craft itself. It doesn't have to, you know, it isn't about, you know, finishing the song in an hour. It's about, you know, making sure that it's something that people might want to hear for years. And he's had a couple songs, speaking of that, that have been recorded. I think his record is 20 years after it was written. Like you gotta just you know,
Let
you
it
gotta
ferment. Let it
take
ferment for a while, right? Yes.
sometimes. Yeah, he has this one song. Um, I think the record is held by a song that he wrote called "The Connection," and Emmylou Harris recorded it, and it had been like almost recorded a bunch of times through the years, but she, it turned out, had it on the shelf, and she always loved it. She's kind of just waiting for the right time,
Hmm.
and the right time came about 20 years after it was written. So I learned, you know, so many lessons from him and just straight up advice from him. And they couldn't exactly tell me to go get a real job, you know? So I was like,
Right.
you know, this is happening.
I always think that's great. When people do it, it could be a double-edged sword. Some, maybe someone's they want their child to follow in their footsteps and they are pushing a little bit. But when it's something that is your passion already, or that you are finding the passion on your own without,
Right.
prodding, to realize that it is becoming a dream for you or something that you want to do. It's so nice to have a at-home consulting group.
Yeah. And I think he also knew that that's not the career that you push somebody in. Like, if they don't love it, if they're not obsessed with it, if they're not ready to do it anyway, even when the returns aren't there, they need to go do something else. You know, if you're in songwriting for the money, that's a bad plan.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad that he didn't push you too hard on the oboe. I'm really grateful.
No.
I'm sure there's lots of other people who are grateful for that today, just because we have you as a songwriter
Well,
instead of an
thank you.
oboist. And no disrespect to oboists, because you and I both know, like you said, and so
I
glad
mean,
I'm a single reed player instead of a double reed, because those reeds, oof.
yeah. No, it's for real. You have to, I mean, I think it's the same thing. It requires like full obsession with
Yeah,
that thing. And if you are, then amazing. But if not, you got to move on.
right, right. Who was the first major artist that you wrote for that really helped you to kind of break into and know that, to believe in yourself, and then also to just help you break into and have other people hear about you?
Right. My very first cut was with Cher. And it was the same year that I put out my first album. So from the very beginning, I kind of tried to lead a double life of writing for other artists and, you know, also making my, you know, making the albums myself. Um, the first time I heard Cher, who is obviously a voice that you know, you just know and you just
Oh
like
yeah.
always have, and you know
Hmm.
it's Cher like in 3 words, right?
Right.
First time I heard Cher singing my song, I was just hooked. Like, okay, this is a drug, and I need to get this somehow. Like, how can I get my songs out to people? And once I had a cut, you know, with her, I could walk into those offices and like, you know, hey, I have this cut. You know, do you want a slice of it if I can get a deal for this and da da da? And the song had been pitched to another artist first, and that artist had been represented by a manager who had a label, and that led, so he liked the voice on the demo, didn't record it, ended up being recorded by Cher, which was awesome. And but he liked the recording, and so followed up with me, and so it kind of all happened at the same time from that one song, "Don't Come Around Here Tonight," which is in 1997. Wow. But I knew that I wanted to do both. I wanted to find a way to do both. And then I realized not long into this that they serve each other. Opportunities would come as a writer because of what I did as an artist, and artist opportunities would come because of what I did, as a writer. So it's like I knew I had to keep them both up because they were helping each other out.
Yeah, I was thinking about that as I was kind of thinking about what I wanted to ask you about today, and I thought, okay, so you put a CD out, you're about to put another one out, you put out several, and in a sense, it's almost a portfolio for someone else to pick it up and hear it there. I mean, they'll hear it other ways. You solicit your songs different ways, of course, but when you put out that formal recording, all mixed down and all mastered, and people hear it, it gets, physically. I know the day of the CD is kind of waning a little bit here, but at least hearing a stream or getting a copy of it on, someone sends a link or something, and they hear it that way because that's almost like a portfolio edition every time you put an album out as a songwriter, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I have many artist friends too that have had their songs recorded by other artists because they heard it on, like on the radio or on their album, or they just happened upon it, streaming. So yeah, it's just another way to get it out there.
So like you said, each one serves each other. I think that's so true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Knowing that you spent most of your life in Los Angeles and that
Hmm.
you just recently, I think 2019, you just moved over to Nashville.
Yep.
Um, how has your recent move affected your life, either from the soul or professionally, at making that move that kind of helps you reinforce it was the right thing?
Right. Well, sorry, we're about to get invaded by Louis.
Oh, that's quite all right.
There's Louis. Hopefully he'll mosey on outside. Okay, there we go.
Looking outdoors and saying, I'm not going out there today.
He loves it.
Oh,
He
really?
loves it. He like pounces in it and plays in it. Okay. Um, yeah, I was drawn to Nashville. So I've been coming here probably 4 or 5 times a year for many, many years. Um, so I knew that it was a fit, and I was just drawn to the influences here, to the kind of all of the genres that are happening here. I felt like I could write kind of truer to myself when I was here.
Yeah.
Los Angeles, although I love it and I love the people there, it really, like, there are times where I definitely miss it, especially like when I can't pull my car out of the driveway because of the snow here, or the humid summers. But also there's just some really really wonderful humans there. But musically, like, to make a living because you live in Los Angeles as a songwriter, it tended to lean more to the sync stuff, film and TV. And I
Mhm.
have some friends that are doing very well in that, and that's awesome. It just never was like my authentic self.
Right.
And when I'm not in that mode, I think it shows and people hear it. So when I'm really writing what I'm feeling, I tend to be outside of Los Angeles, and I just kind of finally realized that. So yeah, I moved at the beginning of 19. It takes a little bit to like find your place and get settled in, and then I was working, like, just taking every job to kind of bridge the financial gap of the move, and then we round the corner on 2020, and I
Mm.
think you know the rest.
Unfortunately,
So I
so yes.
haven't really seen, like, what are Nashville and me now, like, when I'm living here, like it used to be when I would travel here to write. I would take like a week of writing appointments, and every single day I would be at somebody else's place. And now obviously that's not happening, so I'm doing some Zoom writes. um, I still I still write with I still do a little bit of traveling, but I haven't really, like, okay, who am I as a resident of Nashville? Like, that hasn't really happened yet, but I know that it will. At
It
least there's
definitely
a
will.
light at the end of the tunnel now.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. You kind of answered this question for yourself, but maybe just from the visits of being down there, for the 5 years you kept going back and forth and whatnot. I always hear that a lot of the songwriters down there that's a songwriter's town with the ambition to be a performer. You kind of said for yourself that, I'm really happy writing songs. I realize that performing is a part of it.
Yeah.
But do you find that just in the past and interacting with people over the 5 years and now, um, that people, all these songwriters, that many of them are really, you see them playing in all the clubs and playing places because they want the song to be theirs. I know for you, you said you kind of like the songwriting part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that there are, you know, all versions of that here.
Mhm.
Because it's a really good match if I get with somebody who just really loves to perform. So I get to kind of be the anchor of the writing, and they get to be the ham, you know.
Right, right.
um, but yeah, it really like, and there's like every point along the rainbow about that. Like there are definitely writers that are like only writing, like are only on the stage, are forcing themselves, that are just like introverted as hell, but just making themselves go do it so they can get their songs heard, all
Right.
the way to people that are 50-50 and love to perform and love to write, and then people that are leaning more to the performing. It's like it's all here. So I feel like I'm slowly going more to the middle. Like I used to be like, okay, I'll go sing it, and now I really enjoy it.
It has to help to get that feedback from the crowd and to hear that, and afterwards and beyond the compliments and email and Facebook and here and there after the show, even.
And just that kind of real time thing, like this
Hmm.
happened. It's not on a stream. It's not in a hard drive. It's like, you know, a transaction occurred here, and not a financial one. Like
Right.
we shared this to get a
Yeah.
bunch of humans in a room. It's like extra painful that we haven't, you know, been able to do that for a while. I've done one or two since, where like everybody's masked. Like I wear the mask all the way up there. I'm solo. There's nobody else on the stage with me. And it was just such a like, I need this back.
Right.
And this whole experience might make me go more toward the performing, because like I really do miss it, just for the camaraderie of it. Just like we're sharing this experience.
Well, and being down there in such a melting pot of people, you might find yourself sitting in with a lot of people. And, in addition to your own shows, just, from night to night, hey, can you come out and play guitar in this track? And you sing some harmony vocals for me? And that might be more of the thing that keeps you on that stage too.
I love that. I love to do that. I love to have people come up and sing with me. I love to go, sit in. Three-part harmony live is not, it's hard to have much more fun than that, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to skip around for a second because I had something I wanted to ask you about. I was curious to know if you had ever performed at the Bluebird Cafe, legendary Bluebird Cafe, and so I searched around a little bit and saw a YouTube video of you performing with Art Garfunkel.
Yes, that was a while ago.
Yeah, and I saw that, and I thought, oh my goodness! After getting through the elation of having him cover one of your songs, because he's covered one of your songs, he's sang one of your songs on his album.
Mhm.
What was going through your mind as you're sitting there looking over, and there's Art Garfunkel, and I mean, just the processing of, first he sang one of your songs, and then you guys are performing together on a.
Well, we that was a whole experience. We made a whole trio album together. Buddy Monlock and Art and me wrote for an album,
Wow.
recorded it, some in New York, some in LA, but mostly here in Nashville. And then we went on tour for it. So yeah, I had the kind of whole experience with him. And then yeah, getting to perform with him. There were definitely moments, particularly in the studio, because there was one. First of all, just a side note, he loves the studio to be really, really cold, like see
Mm.
your breath kind of cold, like 40 degrees or something. Like,
Wow. Wow.
why? I'd like
Yeah.
to keep us all alert or whatever. It worked.
Uh,
But there was a time where we decided that for this particular song, um, it would serve the performance if we recorded unison at the same time, like maybe 3 feet away. And I remember just like it was yesterday, being in that room and looking over, and I'm watching his mouth because I want our unison to be, as tight as it can be.
yeah.
And it's freaking Art Garfunkel. And and his range, like I have a lower female range and he has everything range. He can go up higher than me. And so I'm watching him, and somewhere about halfway through, the take, I wasn't like working anymore, just trying to match his mouth. I was like, that's freaking hardcore. And we're singing together, and we're singing, and I'm unising with, so we're like blending as one voice. Like it was one of those moments again, just like, how did I get here? But I'm not complaining.
Absolutely. So it's just so neat because to take your songwriting to that level, that the people that you grew up listening to and appreciating, that they're now sitting in with you in a session and performing and writing, or you're writing for them or you're performing with them and recording with them sometimes. Just amazing to think about that.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, yeah, it is for me too. And to like I wish I had more control over those opportunities, but I just like head down work, and then every now and then something like that, shows itself. But yeah, that was a really amazing experience.
Well, and it has to be exciting to open your email or pick up the phone, because you never know what's going to be on the other side. You never know as a songwriter who's going to be asking for your song. It's got to be
Yeah.
so exciting. You never know. Open email. What's here today? Oh, it's a voicemail. Who is it? It's got to be kind of exciting and inspiring to know that
Yeah.
what's going to happen from day to day.
And it could be a song that was written 15 years ago.
Like you said, you said your dad's song 10, 20 years in
Yeah.
the making, right? So you never know. And it's so all of your songs from the past, you never know when one is going to. And this actually brings up another kind of question, I guess. So I know that you have also written with Carole King, because I had seen in your, the different quotes that people have made, at the time of your debut record, Hardly Glamour, I believe it's called, correct?
Yeah.
She said, this is based on that CD. She said, Maya's CD is absolutely wonderful. I'm so glad I got to write with her. She's an old soul and a new friend. I mean, how did that come about to sit down with Carole King?
Okay. Um, the owner of my first label, Miles Copeland, who managed the Police and the Go-Go's,
Right. Iris
right?
Records, right?
Right. So right after IRS kind of folded into a new label, I was signed to that. And he also, so he had some pretty wacky ideas, but and some of them were just like not realistic, but some of them were like brilliantly wacky. So he hosted a songwriting retreat in the south of France at a castle that he owned from like the 1600s or something. And he got 24 songwriters to go to the castle and write together in groups of threes every day. And it would be like some, some like well-known writers, some are new uh, artists, and he would get them all together, and we would meet there, and then every day we would have a new session. Now, because he published me, and I think I was 26 or something. I mean, I'm a total rookie at this point. He's putting me in these rooms because he has a piece of my publishing. He's putting me in these
Right.
incredible writing rooms. So, like on day 2 of my first one, and I'm totally jet lagged, and I'm nervous as hell, like another level of nervous. Like, am I gonna faint? I'm so nervous. I'm in the room with Carole King. Oh man, Gary Burr, who is an awesome writer here. Gary Burr and uh, Carol and me in the room. And he would have intimidated me, except that she's in the room. So him and I are like, okay, buddy, we got this.
Uh-huh,
We just met too.
right.
So yeah, and I've been so fortunate. She was just totally cool, all about the work, literally jeans and a t-shirt, okay, guys, what are we gonna do? Everybody put their ideas on the table. She never played the Carol card, like, excuse me, I've sold a billion records and you haven't. Like, she could have
And she
done
could have, right?
versions
Yeah, but
of
she could
that,
have, right?
but she didn't. She was amazing. She's just like, oh yeah, I love that idea. She said to me, I still can't even believe that this happened.
Mm.
As we walked out, she put her arm around me and she says, I learned so much from you.
Wow.
And I was like, you did not. I learned from you, but you're amazing for saying that. Oh my God. She's just so like cool and earthy and seriously still. And I think this is part of the recipe of her success. She loves the work. She's just obsessed with songwriting. It's not about
Yeah.
the fame, the money. She started as a writer first also. Like this is where her her heart is, and it really shows. And it clearly hasn't changed over the years even with all of her success.
Yeah, I'll see some of her, she does a lot of posting and live stream type things where she'll be in a library, she'll have her books behind her, and she'll just talk about her songs and talk. And she just seems like, take a cup of coffee out and let's talk, She
Yeah.
just really, and that's what you're describing. It's just so down to earth and not pretentious. She could be if she wanted to be, but she's not at all. I could just tell.
Yeah.
And how many people can you say have a musical written about them? The musical Beautiful, I mean,
No.
it's just the career that she's had, and reading about her autobiography, Natural Woman, reading about her, and you just feel like you're sitting down with her. I almost feel like I want to get the audiobook, and I don't know if she recorded her voice in the audiobook. I got to find out, but
Yeah.
I'd like to hear her tell her stories like that.
Yeah.
So really,
Yeah. Also, who else like had a record, you know, on the Billboard charts for what was it? Like 100 weeks or
yeah,
something. It's like
Tapestry was on there
who did that?
forever. And I
Yeah.
think this is the 50th anniversary of Tapestry. I think this is the 50th year. I think.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure. Because I was just looking at things a little bit this week as I was, researching to talk to you. So there was a song called Leaving Home that you kind of,
Yes.
and that was with Jules Shear and with Carol?
Yes. Yes. So I had the opportunity to write with her a few times. So we wrote that first time, and then yeah, and then Jules Shear and Carol and I think we got together just like because we had extra time one evening. Like it wasn't even the like assigned right, for the day. We just wanted to do it.
Right.
And then we also wrote a song with a great Latin artist named Soraya, who unfortunately is no longer with us. She had breast cancer very early, like in her 30s, and
Oh,
she fought it hard. And she was God. She was so cool, so strong, so funny. And she recorded this song that the three of us wrote. And all of these sessions were on various trips to France in a castle that was haunted as hell, by the way.
what great experiences to think about, to look back and say, oh yeah, I sat down with Carol King and share a record, every day. I mean, you could have pinch me moments every morning when you wake up. You could have a pinch me moment every time when you just walk through the house and maybe look at a poster that reminds you of something, or a picture, or it just has to be amazing. So
Yeah, it is. I mean, there are definitely lulls in it where
sure,
you're like,
sure,
okay,
right,
but that's where that just the passion for the work itself just has to be steady
yeah,
because it's not always going to come back around. It's not always going to be that awesome experience, or you just have to love it. If you're the only one who hears this song, that has to be okay.
right, right. Does it ever happen where you write a song for someone's voice in specific, unsolicited, like you're just thinking this is so and so, I know this is their voice, and then you get the chance to pitch it for them, and they go with it. They're like, yeah, like someone that you kind of like put out there and say, yeah, I hear their voice.
I That's one thing I have never really dialed in. Every time I think I am writing for a specific thing, it never lands there. But when I write something that's just like really true to me and it feels very real to me, it feels real to somebody else, and that unexpected thing. Like the Chick song
Right,
Home,
right,
when my publisher Scott Sherrod pitched that to to their to their old producer who pitched it to their producer on that album who pitched it to the Chicks, but that he even pitched it, I was like, really, that one? Oh, I mean, okay. And they loved it. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna like, I'm not advising on that anymore. Like, my idea of where it should be from that seed point, I don't really know. So all I can do is put it out there, and
Right.
hopefully somebody else will figure it out. And whether it's just like writing it, with the artist, or just getting it out into the world and just letting people hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you typically end up meeting the people that you recorded for in the business, or do they mostly pick it up through the various means of promotion and then you kind of get your compensation through that source, as opposed to like having a conversation with them about the song? Or, like in the case of Bonnie Raitt, you actually recorded with her at some point, and
Yeah.
does that happen a lot, or is it mostly that through the channels, people that you've recorded for, I mean, you've written, songs and they've heard, kind of get it through the channels that you promote your songs through?
Early on, it was more through the channels, and I didn't always meet them. Like I didn't meet Cher. I had a cut with a great artist named uh, uh, um, oh my God, Amanda Marshall.
Yes.
She was awesome.
I saw her many, many years ago. She opened, and I can't remember who she opened for, but I mean, it was years ago. It was about 25, 30 years. She opened for somebody here in Chicago, and I can't think of who, but I got to see her in a small setting just when she was starting out.
So soulful.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a chance to work with her. That song reached her through my co-writer Randy Cantor. But all the other ones I'm thinking about, I did eventually meet them. Like I either met them because we recorded together, maybe I opened some shows for them, or I just like ended up meeting them later. Like they asked me if I wanted to come see a show, and then I would meet them. Or most often, particularly like the last 10 years, I get the cut because I write with the artist.
Okay.
So, yeah, like I think all but two of the cuts, I did either meet them first or end up meeting them after. Um, and again, I've been very fortunate because they're all just really good humans. I mean, it would be such a drag to like have a cut with one of your heroes and then they're an ass.
Yeah, they always say they always say something like don't meet your heroes, because it could backfire on you. But and I think I'd say the same thing too. I used to work for a record label, and I met many people that way. And for the most part, I used to work at music theaters. I still do work at music theaters, and I've worked in all sorts of various aspects. So I'm not a starstruck person at all. I don't consider myself. I just really admire what they've done. So that makes me giddy when I'm with them, because I admire that I can see
Yeah.
them and then go home and put one of their records on. It always, or see them on the couch of a talk show a couple of
Right.
years later. Just say it's really just neat to have that one-on-one. And I've been lucky too that my heroes have not turned out to be someone I didn't expect them to be.
Okay,
They've all
good.
been very, very nice.
Yeah, good.
But
Because that,
overall, there's got to be one in there somewhere, but I'm not
right.
gonna worry about that.
Yeah.
So, um, so do you do most of your composing these days behind the piano or with a guitar in your hand? I know you've done a little bit of both and you kind of transitioned at one point. How about today?
I'm keeping it pretty 50-50. I like to shake it up. If I'm on the guitar, for too many songs in a row, I can't angle the camera, but I have a piano right there.
I was gonna say I could see the little corner of
Oh
the
yeah,
piano.
you can.
The
Yeah.
only reason why I thought it was the piano, because I've seen some of your live streams and performances. I know you were part of a 24-hour quarantine concert, and
Yes. Right.
and I saw that grand piano. And I thought if I had a grand piano like that at my house, I'd be spending some time sitting back there recording, and writing, So yeah,
Yes. So yeah, some songs just, kind of ask for one or the other, and some songs are just like, I've been on this one for too long. I need to hop over there.
right.
So yeah, I'm pretty 50-50 these days.
It's nice to have both. It's nice to. It's
Yeah.
like you said at the time. I think I read something or heard something in one of your interviews where you said that there was a point where I felt like I was chasing some of the same things on the piano, and the guitar
Yeah.
was a new, something for me that you had said.
Yeah, yeah, you can definitely, just kind of slip into the patterns, and you don't want to look back on your last 8 songs and they all have the same little move in them. you know.
Right, right, right. Um, when you write a song, do you think a lot about the length of the song, or do people that are in the industry always remind you, well, Maya, it shouldn't be longer than 3 point something minutes, or
Right.
does that ever happen, or is it just kind of like you just let it go organically,
You
naturally?
know, it used to happen. I think these days maybe, well, it might just be that I don't write that, 5.5 minute song anymore. It might be that, but it also could be that I think the industry doesn't seem to care as much about that. There's so many ways to get your music out there, and they're just not, you know, policed like they were,
Yeah.
for better or for worse. I guess if you wanted to, if you're pitching to radio, it still kind of needs to be four-ish or under four, but even that rule gets broken sometimes.
Unless you're Don McLean or Queen, right? I
No,
mean,
yeah.
then
Yeah, so I mean, there are still stations that'll just play a song because they love it. So I don't really have to think about that. But again, I don't go to those like let's vamp out for 3 minutes things
right,
anymore. So,
right,
or even like solos. I don't even have that in the songs anymore. It's just like I want to just the meat of the song and then I'm out, you know?
right, right. Um, I want to talk about the new record. We got to talk about this. It's coming out this year,
Coming out May 7.
May 7th. Okay, I put down May. I wasn't positive that May 7th was the date, but I had it here, and I know that I heard you saying sometimes I'm ready for it. It's coming soon,
Mhm.
whenever the right time is. So that's why I hesitated from saying the 7th, but yes, May 7th is the day. Yes.
That's it.
Mercy Rising, Mercy Rising. Can you tell us a little bit about the process of putting that together?
Well, that happened kind of. I really started to put that together when I first moved over to Nashville. I had a few songs written already, and once I settled into this place, like April of 2019, I started to look at what I already had, what I maybe wanted to uh, look further for, maybe in the old stuff or some new songs that I wanted to write. I was going through pretty much every change that can happen in your life. I mean, I had been in a relationship of 21 years that I was no longer in. I had lived in the state of California. Can you see it back there?
Yes, yes,
my my whole life, and now I didn't anymore. So I moved my home. I changed, my personal life. I wasn't sure what my professional life was going to look like in this new city. I had an idea that it would be okay, and I traveled a lot anyway, so I knew I could actually do that more easily from here than I could, from the West Coast.
right.
But still, it was just everything was different. Everything. And that's reflected in this album for sure. Like it just wasn't a comfortable feeling. It wasn't easy. Um, and I was hanging on to some some stuff that just like wouldn't leave me alone, or I wasn't figuring out how to get it off.
Yeah,
And the title cut is really about that. So that I think I think that the title cut, Mercy Rising, is the first one where I sat down and I'm like, I'm writing this new song for this album now. This is what I need to say. And it's kind of the most like all-encompassing theme, or the song that I think, really hits the theme of the album, and that I've done everything. I feel like I've done everything I know to do
hmm,
to get just to move forward. Like, do I have to run more miles? Do I have to have more wine? Do I have to have less wine? Do I have, what do I have to do?
right,
Do
right.
I have to like learn how to meditate? Like, what is it that I have to do? Do I have to write a letter and put it in the fire? Like, what is it?
Hmm.
And so that song's asking like, just show me any little change. Show me that, like, make that star move. Just like something different. Show me a shift.
I am sure that as you spend more time in Nashville and as we come out of the current the health crisis that we're in, I'm sure you'll see lots of stars moving and things happening that, the signs in the universe that will help you to realize it's hard right now because it's such a unique time that you ended up moving down there. Who could have predicted that this would have happened, But as we start to get to, step back into life again, I'm sure you'll see many signs that, that the visuals and the things that are very, you know, reachable.
Well, thank you for your optimism. I appreciate it.
I'm the eternal optimist, Maya, the eternal optimist.
I feel that. Yeah, I am too. Like, there's always something else to try. I think that song was like, I'm running out of things to try, you know?
Right,
But the song kind of ended up being the thing. It's like that was what helped to move me forward is to write that thing and
right,
to, record it and to go all the way with it. From the beginning of writing process, I was like, I'm gonna produce the living hell out of this song. Like, I'm gonna get a string section. I'm gonna just throw I want a wall of sound.
yeah,
I want to push this thing through my mind. And that also kind of helped, to set the tone.
right, right. Very exciting, very exciting. So, you've got, I know you have another single, you have your first single, Whatever We Are,
Hmm.
has been out for a little bit now since maybe what, January?
It actually came out early. It came out in October of last year. I kind of sprung that one out early because um, I did a Facebook Live for a podcast called Songwriter. And I say it like that because it's one word, but the W is uppercase.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
um, where they pair an author, a writer, with somebody who writes songs, and the songwriter writes a song in response to the piece that the author has written. So Cheryl Strayed, who I love, um, read a piece of hers, and I wrote a song in response to it. But just because we were going to do this thing together and it was going to be out there in the world, and I realized that some of her fans are going to watch the podcast, um, I wanted to have a new song out there. So
Right.
that kind of lit a fire under me to start the whole the whole single you know release path, because it's so hard to know, like, okay, so when should I start, especially last year. Like, I'm not gonna be able to tour around it. When should I start to get these songs out? So the songwriter podcast with Cheryl was like, okay, it's time. I gotta get this rolling. But then the next single isn't coming out until till Friday.
Yeah, tomorrow, right? So, and that's When the World Doesn't End, right?
Yeah,
And so I was kind of excited I get to talk to you the day before the single, because I'm sure there's that anticipation of what are people gonna, gonna be out there and people are gonna start commenting and everything. So I'm
I
sure there's
hope
that
so.
anticipation.
Yeah.
So, um, you've been so gracious as to agree to sing a song for us today, and I thought this might be a good time to insert that here. We're talking about the new album, and um, is there a specific song that you had thought about for this morning that you feel fits the interview?
Well, since we just talked about the first single, Whatever We Are, I thought maybe maybe I would start there, and then you guys can hear the next single tomorrow.
That's right. That's right.
Can't believe I forgot it was tomorrow. I'm still thinking it's Wednesday. It's
It
so hard.
crept up though. In this current world with the weather and the pandemic, what day is it anymore? What day is it? What day?
I know, especially with like just a blanket of snow out there for me
Uh,
now.
yes.
All right. So this is Whatever We Are.
I'm gonna turn my camera off so people can focus on you.
Okay. Never again, but just not today. The first of our kind, or the oldest cliche. Right down the middle, or missed it by far. I love you, whatever we are. Kicking the habit, or up in the dose. Two airplanes flying uncomfortably close. Leftover light from a long gone star. I love you, whatever we are. We've been it all. I still don't have a clue. loving someone forever, whatever we are. Stuck in the memories, trying to move on, changing the station, or singing along. In the back of my mind, or the back of your car, I love you, whatever we are. And I'm not gonna stop when it puts up a fight. I'll just learn how to see you in another new light. 'Cause we've been it all. I still don't have a clue what you are to me, what I am to you, and it's making me better. That's breaking my heart. Loving someone forever, whatever we are. You make me better. Oh, you break my heart. I'll love you forever, whatever we are.
Just beautiful. Wow. I'm so honored that you would play today for our show. I'm just so
Oh,
honored.
thank you.
That was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful song. Um,
Appreciate it.
um, so when you wrote that song, and was it hard to decide like what that's going to be your lead off single, or how does that come about for you? Like,
So I wrote the first two verses of it on a long drive. I think I was coming back from a gig, and this was 2019. So this was when those still happened.
right.
So I think it was like a 6-hour drive, and I remember really just kind of needing to get this feeling across of like I don't really feel this way yet about someone. I'm still carrying around a little bit of resentment, but this is how I want to feel. This
Right.
is like the more evolved me would say this. you know, I love you whatever we are. I know we've been at all these things. Doesn't matter what it is. I just want to love you. So I had those two verses, and I brought them back to Nashville, and I had a writing session with two great writers. Actually, my Roscoe and Ed, a duo partner, uh, uh, Anna Scholze, um, and a great another fantastic songwriter here named Thomas Fincham. And I just brought them the first two verses and like, okay, what do you guys, what do you think of this? And we wrote it like it. I think it was just a couple hours. In fact, it was in this very room. I think they were like each on one of those chairs. So it was one of the first songs that I wrote here.
Right.
And yeah, so they were all over it, and they totally hopped on the train, and we brought that thing home, and they preserved that feeling that I wanted to do of like, okay, what would that like Zen person say? The Zen person that I really want to be.
Right. Right. That's so neat because it's I'm sure it's rewarding when you're writing on your own and you can come up with a certain path of your song, but then also when you are inspired with other people in the room like that, and they give you that
Oh
missing
yeah.
link, that that extra insight to your own life, even from knowing you, from knowing who you are and knowing what you're about, to be able to put it into words in a different way than you as the first person
Hmm.
do, and then it kind of melds together.
Yeah, and they're also going to bring in their own experience too. So
Right.
it's just going to be more and more layered, you know. And it always shows, I don't know, I think this is a part of why I love to co-write so much. It always shows how many things we're all experiencing, that we think we're the only one. But you get in a room with somebody, you think that you're telling your story, or you think that you're helping them tell their story, and you realize that you completely resonate with it too. So I mean, I knew as soon as the three of us started writing it that, like, they were definitely relating to it in some way. Maybe it wasn't exactly the way I was, but it definitely has all three of us.
Well, I think we'd all be a little bit better off in life in a sense if we were willing to share all of our things, because our stories and our trials and tribulations, because when we do say them out loud, we realize, yeah, you're feeling that too, and you're feeling that. We do. You're right. You're right.
It's
So right.
Yeah, it's helpful for the storyteller, it's helpful for the listener. Everybody wins
Yeah.
when you share a hard, true thing.
Yeah. Maybe you could talk a little bit about Roscoe and Etta, the guitars themselves, the guitars
That's right.
and the
That
musical group.
so you did know about Roscoe and Etta,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, they're two guitars and also a duo.
Yes. Yes. So my last two releases have been with a duo. We had one in 2018, no, 17, and then 18. Um, yeah, that just started out as a writing session in Los Angeles. Anna and I met through a mutual friend in LA after a show, actually, Garrison Starr, and
Oh,
I had set in with Garrison on the guitar that turned out to be Etta.
okay.
And I remember Garrison introducing Anna and me, and Anna was just like all about the guitar. She was like, staring at the guitar. This isn't her, but her, I mean. Um, but yeah, she was staring at the guitar, and I'm like, I'm up here. Hello, you know. So we did just it. We thought it was just going to be like, let's just get together and write maybe something for Sync, maybe something for you, maybe something for me. And I think we were like one and a half songs in, and we realized, like, this is kind of its own animal. Like, it's not really you solo, it's not really me solo. Not sure who we would pitch it to. Maybe we need to think about, like, it being for us. Maybe it's just, a side, you know, a project thing.
Yeah.
And so um, we did, and we just kind of went all the way with it. We really focused on writing the whole album, and we did like a month or two worth of touring, and we made our first vinyl. That was the first time
That's
I ever
great.
had
Yeah.
vinyl pressed. First time
Wow.
I ever had vinyl pressed. Um,
Wow.
and now, of course, I'm hooked. So there will
Yeah.
be vinyl on the new record as well.
Great.
But yeah, we just, it just found its own voice, and kind of like we were saying earlier, we just had to follow it. It wasn't what we planned, but it was so obviously what it had to be. If we wanted these songs to be out there the way that we wanted them to be out there, we were going to have to do it. So it's on now.
That's so exciting. I mean, and just being open to whatever may be. You just said, hey, well, let's try this. Let's do it this way. Let's do it for us instead of for, you just being open to things. You never know what's next.
Yeah, as long as it feels, authentic to yourself, and you're still, you're excited about it, and you're passionate about it. It's all those things that we said earlier. Like, if you really love it, and you really love the doing of it, and that's more important than whatever comes back,
Right.
then usually more does actually show up for you, because you're you're putting it out there in a real way.
So true. So true. Um, I want to talk a little bit about your partnership with Patreon. Is it pronounced
Oh
Patreon?
yeah, Patreon, I think, but
Patreon. I'm not.
I
I
don't
wasn't
think.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they care. I
Okay.
don't care.
And I
Yeah.
know that you just started working on with that not too long ago, I believe, just getting into that world. I just started hearing about them just a few weeks ago. And then so it's funny, like if you're looking
Oh,
for a
really?
house, you see real estate ads. If you're looking for a car, you see car ads. I heard about them 2 weeks ago, and then I'm talking to you, and you're actually one of the members that are working with them. So it's kind of neat.
Yeah, I'm convinced that those things that happen like right when you're talking about it aren't really a coincidence. Like
I
your phone,
agree. I
I think your
completely
phone
agree.
knows that you're
Yeah.
talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of right at the beginning of the lockdown. So, yeah, I wanted a way to, to stay connected with people that wanted to hear the music. I wanted something to kind of keep a fire lit under me to keep on putting out some new stuff. So yeah, Patreon is it's a really cool subscription platform where you can find many artists like of all kinds, like music, painting. I think there's all kinds of things there. And for whatever price you choose to pay per month, you get a certain level of things. Like, the lowest tier for me gets a brand new unreleased song uh, once a month and like a weekly video check-in. And I just kind of talk about whatever's going on. Every now and then I throw in a song like live in the check-in. If you sign up for the next one after that, you get like an online stream show. After that, you get two handwritten lyrics. Then you get a workshop after that, and then you get a custom song after that. And every artist like you know sets their own levels and what they want to offer. Um, so yeah, and it's been, I feel like it's been a very mutual thing because the people that have signed up seem to really like hearing the new stuff and really like that we kind of have a dialogue now.
Yeah.
And I have like, it makes me, it isn't like I have to be forced, but it's nice to know that there's people that want to hear a new song.
Yeah.
And as long as there's people that I know specifically even who they are that are might be waiting or might be looking forward to hearing a new song, that's going to light a fire under me to get that new song finished.
Right.
So I think it's just been very helpful all the way around.
It sounds like a really neat platform. I was reading about the different levels of what you offer for the membership for your music, and it is really neat. And I think that the article that I had read a couple weeks ago said they feel like it's a new platform that will really people worry so much about how number of views and everything with all these different things to get to a certain place, and this is something completely different that really could take off.
Yeah, and the thing I really love about it is that it's entirely personal. Like I know who my people are. It feels like I'm playing a little club every time, which is my favorite thing anyway. It's like I can picture the faces. Like I know who's out there. It's not just like somebody likes a post but didn't listen to the song. Like I know that they listened.
Yeah.
I know that they wanted it. And another thing that I might add that the album comes out on May 7th, but I've already made it available to everybody who has signed up for the Patreon page. So they get an early peek at just about like everything that I do. So they're going to get the album first, they're going to get the vinyl first. They get a discount on everything.
That's
So
really neat for the fan of of a career like yours, to be able to just dial in like that to get that up close and personal, um, you know, interaction with you as a singer songwriter, and then also in addition to the new album, a song a month, something. I'm going to play this song for you. I'm going to sing this song for you. How neat is that? It's just really a neat thing. Yeah, so exciting. Um, you've been so gracious with your time today, so I just really want to thank you and just ask you if there's, besides Patreon, of course, um, what other are the best ways for people to find you on social media? What are the places that you find yourself, you know, sauntering through a lot?
well, I do have finally have a shaped up website, which you can find at maiasharp.com, MAIA sharp like the cheese. um, Instagram is Maia Sharp Music. Twitter and Facebook are Maia Sharp. There's two Facebooks. There's a Maia Sharp official too, but I post pretty much the same thing you know on the other Facebook too. So
Right.
yeah, those are all. I think those are all my socials.
Well, I know there'll be a a good number of people who are going to be so excited to hear, our talk, and it's going to inspire them. Hopefully, the great things that you've shared with us today about your career that will make them curious to go out if they haven't already, which there's a good chance that they already have because you've been out there doing so many things for so many artists and for your own career, your own music, that if they don't already know, they're going to be excited to, after, especially after hearing you sing today, to go and check this out, to check out this wonderful career that you have. Wonderful.
Well, I definitely hope so. Thank you so much for this.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. I thank you for your time. And I wish you the best of luck as we all and success. It's not about luck. It's just not luck. It's success and it's good
Work.
strategic moves and just a
That's
good
right.
feeling. You know, it's not luck. I find myself a lot of times. I teach musical theater. You know, that's one of the things I do, and I find myself saying to my students, "Good luck," and then I stop myself and I say, "It's not about luck. It's about skill and talent. It's not about luck." And I stop myself. Now I usually can stop myself before I say good luck. I just say, "Do well." This is what I say. I say, "Do well."
Yeah, I mean, it's such a cliche. It's been there for so long, but
Right.
yes, it does it. Yeah, you can't just kind of wait around for for something to happen. It's
Right.
definitely work.
Well, Maya, again, I thank you so much for your time today, and we're looking forward to hearing your new album on May 7th, Mercy Rising. Thank you so much for your time and looking forward to so many great songs for you in the future.
Well, thank you so much.
I'm gonna